my little angels. Come on in. Come on in. I'm so happy to see you, and I hope you're happy to be here. And I see we have new people. Hi, new people. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you decided to give my channel a chance. I hope you like it, and I hope that you like, you share, definitely comment. I love the comments, and please hit that subscribe button below. And I see my returning people. Hi guys. Thank you so much for coming back, you guys. So tonight I thought we would do a reading to you video. Haven't done them in a while. I think I've gotten the hang of my microphone, and it'll be a little more crisp and whispery. So I ordered us 3 new books to read, and I'm going nostalgic. So I'll show you those in a few minutes. Oh, what the hell? Let's show you now. So I did order. I saw somebody talking about little golden books. I loved little golden books when I was younger, and I had no idea that Little Golden Books does biographies now. So we have Carol Burnett, who you guys know I absolutely adore. And here she is doing her signature pull on the ear to her nanny. And I love the polka dots. They just remind me of her, you know, and the lights and the beautiful gown. She always had the beautiful gown and the red hair, always. So I thought I would read this one because she is somebody I truly, truly, truly admire. And then Dolly Parton, whose birthday is not tomorrow but the next day. I adore her. And what I love most about these, don't want to spoil that surprise, these 2 women, let's try to get a thumbnail, is that they made their own path. You know, they knew what they wanted to do. They went for it. Despite people telling them they'd never succeed, they did it, you know, and I admire that. And it was hard work, and it was smart, you know, they're smart women. 2 other women I would put in that category would be Lucille Ball, and the other person would be Fran Drescher. They all knew what they wanted, they went for it, and they made their own way. And I gotta admire people like that, I really do. And then the last book is a book I love. Okay, I love the movie so much, Coco. This movie changed how I view things. I really try now to remember anyone who's passed on. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I did notice on the back they had some other books. So The Pokey Little Puppy, I think that was my very first little golden book, was Pokey Little Puppy. But then I noticed Inside Out. I'll be ordering that one for us too. This movie, I absolutely loved, guys. And I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, especially if you're having any kind of mental health issues or emotional issues. For me, this movie really helped me because I was able to see you can't focus on just one emotion. They all kind of work together. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. I heard they're coming out with a sequel, which I'm excited for and worried for, but we'll see how it goes, right? So let's see. So guys, let me get started. So if we're going to read, you need to get your lighting the way you want it, okay? So whether you like it light or dark or sleep mask, although this time I'm going to show the pictures, so you might want to watch the screen, but that's up to you guys. And if you want candles, you know Auntie Angel's rule, only these ones. Only the electric ones. No lit candles when you're trying to sleep. You guys mean way, way, way too much to me for you to take risks like that. It's dangerous. Okay. So get the lighting the way that you want it, and then get yourself comfortable. Whether it's a couch or a bed, a chair, a hammock, a chaise, a lawn chair, cushions on the floor, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, be comfortable. Put a cushion behind your back if you need it, whatever you need. Get a blanket if you need it and cuddle up in it, whatever it is. Okay, now we haven't done this in a while. And for the new people, we do a breathing technique, and we do it so that we're basically trying to train our brain to send a signal out to the rest of our body to slow down. And we do this when we want to rest, when we want to relax, when we start to feel anxious, not when we're in the middle of an anxiety attack, but if we're feeling anxious, or we start to feel panicky, or even just when things seem like chaotic around us, with work, with school, with the kids, with our parents, with whatever, and you need a minute just for you, you take it. You've earned it. You deserve it. Okay? So how we're going to do this, and this is only if you can, okay? We do counts of 4, but if you can only do 1 or 2, you do you, okay? This is about making you feel comfortable. That's what's important. So we're going to breathe in through our nose for a count of 4. We're going to gently hold it. None of that. A gentle hold for a count of 4. And then a slow release through pursed lips for a count of 4. Okay, we'll do it together. Ready? Let's do. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Gently hold it. And out. Very good. Okay, we're going to try that one again. Ready? Breathe in. Gently hold it. And out. Very good. And let's do the last one. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gently hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? I forgot my glasses, so I'm hoping that this is printed that I can read it. So here's the picture. Carol Creighton Burnett was born in San Antonio, Texas on April 26, 1933. Her parents, Joseph and Ina Louise, loved her very much, but they did decide that it would be better for her to be raised by her grandmother, and Carol called her Nanny. My daughter called my mother Nanny too. When Carol was 7 years old, she and Nanny moved to Hollywood, California. Lots of wealthy movie stars lived and worked in Hollywood. But Carol and Nanny were poor. They lived in a tiny one-room apartment with a Murphy bed. That's a bed that has to be pulled down from the wall at night and lifted up and hidden during the day. Nanny slept on the bed and Carol slept on the couch. But you notice, they both smile. Nanny and Carol liked to go to the movies, and they went as often as possible. Sometimes they'd see 8 movies a week. Back then, Carol's ticket cost just 10 cents. After seeing a movie, Carol would act out the scene with her friends on the playground or the roof of her apartment building. She started dreaming of being an actress and having her own happy ending, just like in the movies. Let's see. The mop on my head. After high school, Carol studied theater arts at the University of California in Los Angeles, where she performed in many, many shows. She loved being in front of an audience, and more than anything, Carol wanted to be in a Broadway musical. A stranger who had seen Carol perform helped her get closer to that dream. He gave her $1,000 to move to New York, but she had to promise to pay him back in 5 years to help others if she became successful, and to never tell anyone his name. And Carol agreed. I didn't know that, guys. Okay. Moving away from Nanny was hard, but Carol was still excited about her future. In New York, she lived in a room with 4 other women who also hoped to get into show business. When she wasn't going on auditions, she worked as a hat check girl in a restaurant. Carol earned a quarter whenever a customer left their hat or their shopping bags with her before sitting down to eat. Carol learned that she needed an agent in order to get cast in a show. But the agents wanted to see her perform before they agreed to work with her. So what did Carol do? She wrote her own show with her roommates and invited all the agents to come and see them. And it worked. She got an agent. Here's the hat check and her own show. She soon got a part on a children's TV show. When she called Nanny to tell her the good news, Nanny asked Carol to say hello to her during the show. Now, this wasn't possible, so instead she gave her left ear a tug. It was a secret signal to Nanny, letting her know that she loved her. Even though Nanny died in 1967, Carol has continued to pull on her ear every time she's on television. Carol's big break came when she joined the Gary Moore Show. She played many characters in many different skits in this popular variety show. Her natural talent and her silly faces made her a favorite with the audience. There she is pulling her ear. I also know people who do that too. At the same time, Carol was cast as the lead in a Broadway musical. Her dream had come true. Carol played Princess Winifred the Whatchagon in Once Upon a Mattress, a show based on the fairy tale The Princess and the Pea. She worked at the TV show during the day and performed in the musical at night. It was exhausting. She once fell asleep on stage on top of 20 mattresses. The stage manager had to wake her up in order to say her lines. Carol and the show were a hit. She was able to pay back the $1,000 she had borrowed from the kind stranger exactly 5 years after she received it. In 1963, Carol and her husband Joe Hamilton welcomed a baby daughter they named Carrie. A couple of years later, they moved to Los Angeles. They went on to have 2 more daughters, Jody and Erin, to complete their family. Carol was a great mom. She loved playing board games and watching old movie musicals with her girls. When Carol was offered a chance to star in her own TV show, she chose to do a variety show. After all, it's what she knew, and she liked it the best. But no woman had ever hosted such a show. Would anyone watch? You better believe they watched. The Carol Burnett Show began airing in 1967. It ran for 11 seasons and won 25 Emmy Awards. Every show began with Carol taking questions from the audience. Actors on other shows talked with their audiences too, but Carol was the first to tape these chats and show them on TV. They helped her fans feel like they really knew her, and Carol loved how surprising the questions could be. Once, a woman even asked Carol where the bathroom was. Her co-stars were Harvey Korman, Vicki Lawrence, Lyle Wagner, and Tim Conway, and they added to the fun of the show. Sometimes they surprised one another by improvising, making up lines, instead of following the script. Many of the show's funniest moments came when Carol and the others couldn't help laughing in the middle of the scenes. I understand Tim Conway was one of the best ones for doing that. Some of Carol's favorite skits made fun of the old movies that she and Nanny had watched together. In one, Carol's character made a dress from the curtains in her home, and it included the curtain rods. That costume is so famous, it's part of the collection in the National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. In 2005, President George W. Bush presented Carol with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and in 2019 she received a special Golden Globe named for her, the Carol Burnett Award. Every year since, the award has been given to someone who has done remarkable work in television, just like Carol. This was actually one of my all-time favorite episodes. And the story, I understood, the actors didn't know what she looked like when she came down the stairs. So their reaction is real. Carol had spent her career playing hundreds of different characters, but she also shared her own true self with audiences. And as she promised to do to the stranger who believed in her, she has helped many people with her generosity and her support. Each episode of the Carol Burnett Show ended with her singing, "I'm so glad we had this time together." And Carol's fans feel the same way. Isn't that great? I love this. Let's try the Dolly Parton, shall we? Okay. Ready? Dolly Rebecca Parton was born on January 19th, 1946, in a one-room cabin in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Dolly was the fourth of 12 children. Each morning, her daddy went off to work carrying his lunch in a battered old dinner bucket. Her mama cooked and cleaned from sunup to dusk, and then mended clothes and stitched quilts by the light of a kerosene lamp. Her family might have been poor, but Dolly's life was rich with music and love. Dolly and her sisters and brothers made their own fun. From the time she was little, she's on the woodpile or stood on the cabin porch to perform for the chickens, the ducks, and her little brothers and sisters. Sometimes, though, her audience crawled off or waddled away. One chilly fall, Dolly's mama made her a special coat from colorful scraps of cloth. The kids at school called it a bunch of rags. Their teasing made Dolly sad, but she didn't take off her coat. She knew her mama had sewn each stitch with love. When she grew up, she told that story in a very famous song, "The Coat of Many Colors." That's one of my all-time favorite songs. Dolly had always loved butterflies, flitting and flying so free. One day when she was a child, she followed a bright orange monarch and got lost in the woods. Suddenly, she heard a bell. It was the family cow, Bessie. Dolly ran over and grabbed the leather collar that her father had made for the animal. She hung on tight, stumbling through briars and brambles as Bessie led her all the way home. Dolly is a bit like a beautiful butterfly herself, gentle and colorful. She lights up the stage in her fancy outfits, and she enjoys showing off her fabulous, glamorous wigs. Even though she's all grown up, she still makes her own fun. Dolly was only 10 years old when she began appearing on local radio and television shows. At first, she felt nervous, and then she took a big breath and she just sang from her heart, just like at home on the woodpile. Her dazzling smile, her clear, high voice, it charmed everyone. Dolly was on TV before her family even owned one. As a girl, Dolly set her sights high. She dreamed of singing on stage at the famous Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. From there, people all over America could hear her on the radios. Dolly was only 13 when country music legend Johnny Cash introduced her at the Grand Ole Opry. This was the big time. Dolly stepped up to the microphone. She sang for God and for her mama and her daddy and for all the people who believed in her. Everyone loved it. At her high school graduation, Dolly declared she was moving to Nashville and she was going to become a star. People laughed, but that only made her more determined. The very next day, she hopped on a bus to Nashville with her guitar, her songs, and her few belongings packed in 3 paper bags. On her first day in town, outside the wishy-washy laundromat, Dolly met a handsome young man named Carl Dean, and it was love at first sight. 2 years later, Dolly and Carl decided to marry. They had a small, simple wedding, and they've been together ever since. Although they never had children of their own, Dolly and Carl opened their hearts and homes and helped raise many of Dolly's younger brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews. Years later, for their 50th wedding anniversary, Dolly and Carl decided to make up for their simple wedding. They married again, and this time Dolly wore a shimmering gown. Then they got into their RV and went camping. After Dolly and Carl first got married, Dolly kept working hard. Before long, some of her songs became #1 hits. She started to win big awards, including Top Female Country Singer of the Year. But Dolly didn't limit herself to one kind of music. She made a big splash in pop music too. Since Dolly loved performing, one day she decided to try acting. Her first film, called 9 to 5, is about a woman who, like her, works hard for success. Dolly wrote the movie's title song, which became a huge hit. I happen to know, legend has it, that Dolly wrote it on her nails. Okay, those long acrylic, stumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen. That's amazing. Dolly's never seems to run out of ideas. She's written more than 5,000 songs. It's no wonder Dolly's list of awards for songwriting, music, and acting fill many pages. She's changed country music. She has made television shows. She's written books, too. Dolly is one of the most honored performers in America of all time. Along with being a creative person, she's a successful businesswoman. Each year, people flock to Dollywood, her theme park in the Smoky Mountains. Dollywood has brought jobs to the area, and it honors the music and the traditions of the people who live there. Dolly also helps in other ways. Out of love for her father, who never got a chance to learn to read, she began Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. Each month, Imagination Library sends free books to more than 1 million preschool children in America and in other countries around the world. This woman never forgot where she came from, and she made the world better. She's still making the world better. Like the butterfly she once followed as a child, Dolly has traveled far in her life. She began by singing on a woodpile. Now, the whole world is her stage. She's never been afraid to be herself or to raise her voice to help others. Dolly Parton is like no other. And one thing is certain, everybody loves Dolly. That was awesome. I really like these books, guys. Now, shall we do Coco, or should we change that for its own video? I'm just going to check. You know what? We're going to do it. This is going to be a long video. So this is Coco from Disney's Pixar. So, in the small town of Santa Cecilia, there lived a little boy named Miguel Rivera. His house was full of family, including his great-grandmother, Mama Coco. There's Mama Coco. Every year, On Dias de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, his family shared the memories of relatives that had passed on. Miguel's abuelita would tell the story of his great-great-grandmother, Mama Imelda, whose heart had been broken by her musician husband. Because of him, there was one rule in the Rivera household: no music. But Miguel loved music. In his secret hideout, he learned to play guitar by watching videos of his favorite musician, Ernesto de la Cruz. Inspired, Miguel snuck out of the house one night with his dog, Dante, to perform in a local talent show. But on the way out, Dante jumped onto the family's ofrenda or altar. Mama Imelda's photo tumbled down with a crash. That was when Miguel made a discovery. Mama Imelda's husband was holding a guitar, and it looked very, very familiar. Mama Coco's papa was Ernesto de la Cruz. Miguel cried, "I'm definitely going to be a musician." But because of their family rule, his abuelita took his guitar and destroyed it. Miguel ran as fast as he could to Ernesto's tomb, where the musician's famous guitar still hung. Taking it off the wall, he says, "Please don't be mad. I need this to be a musician like this." And he gave the legend's guitar a strum. All of a sudden, Miguel noticed all the skeletons around him. They had followed the path of marigold petals to visit their living relatives for Dias de los Muertos. To return to the land of the living, Miguel would need a blessing from one of his dead family members. So he and Dante crossed the marigold bridge into the land of the dead. Miguel found Mama Imelda, but she said she wouldn't give him her blessing. If he wanted to be a musician, Miguel had to find another way. So he teamed up with a skeleton named Hector, who said he knew Ernesto de la Cruz. With some shoe polish, Hector made Miguel look like a skeleton, so he wouldn't stick out. They traveled all over looking for Ernesto. They even performed together in a talent show. But Miguel was running out of time. If he didn't get Ernesto's blessing soon, he would turn into a real skeleton and never get home. So he ditched Hector to find his great-great-grandpa on his own. Miguel snuck into Ernesto's fiesta at the tippy top of a tall tower. But the place was so crowded, he couldn't get to Ernesto. So Miguel belted out a song. Everyone watched as he sang, and then he fell into Ernesto's pool. Splash! The skeleton saw that he was a real, live, living boy. Ernesto, though, was overjoyed to see Miguel. "I have a great-great-grandson," he cried. But then Hector appeared, and as the two men argued, Miguel learned the dark truth. His great-great-grandpa had poisoned Hector and stolen his songs to become famous. Miguel was shocked to see Ernesto's face turn cold. Ernesto explained that he couldn't risk letting the world know the truth, and then he threw Miguel and Hector down, down, down into a dark pit. Hector told Miguel that all the songs he'd written were for his family, and there was a special lullaby, "Remember Me." He always sang it for his daughter Coco. Miguel thought of Mama Imelda's photo and the unidentified man. "It's you, Hector. You are my great-great-grandpa." Suddenly, Mama Imelda and Dante came to the rescue. But Hector was beginning to disappear. His daughter was starting to forget him. Mama Imelda and Hector sent Miguel home with both their blessings. Back in the land of the living, Miguel rushed to Mama Coco. He sang "Remember Me" to remind her of her papa. She usually didn't talk much, as Miguel was thrilled when she suddenly began to sing along. Mama Coco kept her papa's memory alive by sharing stories of him with her relatives. At last, the Riveras realized that the music could bring them all closer together. And now Miguel knew that he could follow his dream and become a musician with his family's support. All of them. Okay, my little angels. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that you're asleep. And those of you that aren't, always know I love you, I value you, I honor you, and I'm so very, very glad that you